This year I was slow in setting up my neighbourly Christmas bonsai in the lobby of my apartment building, so my landlord took it upon himself to drag my pine down from the roof and set it up. In contrast to the delicate line of Christmas lights that I usually hang on it, he draped 5 meters of lights on it and ran them to an external power socket. I didn't mind. Any joy that my landlord gets from my bonsai is good for me. It reminded me of Christmases when I was a kid. My mother always wanted a tasteful Christmas tree, but us kids were determined to hang every tacky trinket in the box on it. These days I can see her point, but there's still something in me that appreciates a wild and anarchic tree. December was wild in Korea generally, with martial law and protests, but it didn't touch me much in my small town. And soon it was time again to leave freezing Korea for Australia.
열차는 11시 11분에 서울로 가는 KTX 4414 열차입니다. 열차 곧 출발하겠습니다.
This stop is Incheon International Airport Terminal 1.
I didn't film much at the airport because I wanted to practice my latest masochistic hobby, which is street photography shot blindly from the hip using a manual focus lens. One day I'll see a psychologist and try to understand why I only choose very difficult hobbies, and then judge myself harshly against the work produced by the greatest artists of all time. I think I'd say that it's because that is the only way to become good, but there might be something more complex there. With this style of street photography, I'm only a beginner, and so I'm happy to just get the focus and framing something like what I intended. But as I often tell my students, everyone, even the best in the world, were also once a beginner. You do get better at everything with practice, and I liked some of my photos. Some of them had something, and like bonsai, they'll look better in 20 years. Today they're just pictures, but by then they'll be history. In Australia, I was excited to see how my trees had grown since last summer. It's a juniper I planted on a rock because I was bored one day. It's looking nice. The branch I broke didn't make it. It's my original box. It's one of the first bonsai I ever had. It's actually my profile picture on YouTube. Last time I was back here, I talked about my mother's fig and how my offhand sneer that it would never grow into much in that tiny pot led her to challenge me to produce a better bonsai in 5 years. At that time we bought 2 trees for this challenge. My mother chose a boxwood because she thought it would be easy to bonsai, something you could just topiary into shape, and I chose a Japanese maple, and I still have both of these trees. My first attempt at bonsaiing that boxwood was not impressive. I wasn't even using aluminium wire. It was done with garden tie wire. In my naivety, I enthusiastically cut off most of the branches. This guy wire arrangement is certainly innovative. Later, after it had grown for a while in a garden pot, I styled it and put it in a bonsai pot and took a picture. And that picture has served as my channel profile picture ever since. Reduced to thumbnail size, it doesn't look too bad. Full-sized though, it still looks pretty rough. Since then, it hasn't changed much. I've kept up with its styling and repotted it once or twice. It's slowly developing ramification, but boxwood doesn't grow quickly. My main point of contemplation this time is the 3 branches on the right, an awkward legacy that remains from my first initial styling attempt. The lowest was only ever intended as a sacrifice branch and hasn't grown much, but the 2 higher branches above it seem in conflict. The lower branch has more movement, but the foliage is all at the end, and it has the looping curve of a branch that has been wired. The upper branch doesn't have much movement, but it has better foliage and ramification. These days, I don't just impulsively cut off branches, so I've gotten better at that. While I think about which of these branches I might want to remove, I decide to take all the foliage back to approximately 2 pairs of leaves after each ramification point. A routine task that nonetheless improves the tree's appearance and sets it up well for the future. With that done, I can think about those branches. While I think that the upper branch is better, I decide to still keep the lower branch too for now and move it down into a more open space. The thing is, I feel like cutting off this branch will start to make it look too much like a conventional bonsai. Bonsai that follow all the rules, bonsai that don't have even a hint of idiosyncrasy, become boring very quickly. Also, boxwood as a bonsai always runs that risk of becoming like topiary, and I want to avoid that. And I feel like this odd arrangement of the branches gives the tree a little quirk and character. I might cut that lower branch off one day, but not today. I do, however, feel that the stubby sacrifice branch isn't doing much at this point, so I satisfied myself with cutting it off. The reality is that this will probably always be a pretty ordinary bonsai. I lost that challenge of my mother's, at least as far as this tree goes. I didn't know at the time that figs will grow like crazy in anything, while boxwood grows very slowly. Her fig now has a fairly substantial trunk on it, and honestly, her fig has also benefited from our regular arguments about how far I can go styling it. I always want to do more than she'll let me. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know I would prefer to have 2.
Only 2.
You've always insisted on keeping all 3 of these things, thus
What?
creating inverse taper here.
Uh-huh.
4th is intolerable. Can I remove this?
You can remove that little one, yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I'll allow that.
So maybe I haven't quite learned that lesson about not cutting off too many branches just yet. I like my little boxwood though, even though I committed the same error I warned about in the first place. I put it in a bonsai pot too early. And for its history and simplicity, I think it's appropriate as my YouTube profile picture. A question for you though. Do you think I should update my profile picture to reflect its current style? I do have a lot of fairly substantial boxwood that I dug up from a friend's garden and planted without permission in my father's garden. And when I was finished, I said to him, well, worst case scenario is you have a nice little boxwood hedge in your garden. He said, what's the best case scenario? I said, I dig them up again and turn them into magnificent bonsai. So today I'm actually going to turn it into a little boxwood hedge, or at least begin that process. What about the Japanese maple I bought for that challenge? Well, when I bought it, I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't bonsai it before it was ready, that I would grow it and shape it for as long as it took until I could make it into a magnificent bonsai. And that project continues today. You can tell it's special because it's in this fancy ceramic pot and not a plastic pot. Unfortunately, this particular maple turned out to have a sort of fatal flaw when it came to being a bonsai, which is that it seems to scar very badly whenever I make a cut. I have various other maples hidden away in various places in my parents' gardens, and plenty more growing in pots, and some of them have become a lot thicker and have a lot more potential than this one. But I haven't given up on it yet. Until the day it dies or the day it becomes a really great bonsai, it will always get special treatment from me. Really, it's nothing special, but it's one of the few trees I feel sentimental about. I still believe in it. Not long after I started doing bonsai, I watched a Heron's video, which showed how you could turn a prostrate juniper into a cascade juniper bonsai. Like a lot of people, I liked Heron's videos when I first started bonsai. I learned a lot, but there were also a lot of things I had to unlearn later. But anyway, that was a good tip. I soon picked up a prostrate juniper from my local garden center and set about wiring it, again using garden tie wire. I'm embarrassed to say that when I first took this photo, I was proud of my efforts. I wonder if I'll one day feel as embarrassed by my current efforts as I do looking at this picture. 1 year later, my skills had improved, and so had my juniper, although it still looks a little absurd. By the next styling, I think I was starting to get the hang of things. Or perhaps I'd just become better at taking pictures of bonsai. The photo makes the tree look better than it actually was. Last time I was in Australia, I completely wired it out with expensive copper wire. This tree is a little unusual in being a common juniper, a juniper species that isn't used much in bonsai. They have a reputation for dying, although so far this one has always been healthy. It grows foliage profusely every year, but it never seems to thicken much, and even after a year, none of the wires have cut in. My goal for this tree this year is the same goal I always have for this tree, to make it look pretty. Bonsai people often refer to John Nucker's quote, "The object is not to make the tree look like a bonsai, but to make the bonsai look like a tree." I like Nucker, and it's a pithy phrase. Realism is certainly a valid goal for your tree, but sometimes too I think it's okay to just make a tree that looks like a bonsai, to make it pretty and accessible. With this tree, all I want to do is make young Zachary, with his steel garden wire and naive enthusiasm, proud. And I think he would be happy if he could have known how this tree would look today. Next year I hope to leave this tree alone. Maybe in another couple of years it will be ready for a further evolution, a radical redesign. But for now I want to enjoy it for what it has become. I do wonder, though, how I'll feel about my work today in another 5 years. Will I look at it with the same embarrassment I look at my first efforts? Will I always be dissatisfied and still chasing an impossible goal? Or will I actually get somewhere? I think I'm getting better, but I know I'm still a long way from being good. Progress comes slowly, there are setbacks, and so sometimes it's good to take a moment and look back and see how far you've come. Fortunately, there are no mistakes in bonsai. Every injury and error becomes part of the character of the tree. And eventually, the tree is better for it, even if it's hard to see it in the moment. Progress isn't a straight line, but I maintain hope that it is possible to get better, that there is always an opportunity to grow.